106.1 FM. It's the 30th of October.
That's right.
It's our Halloween episode.
Ladies and
So you're here
gentlemen.
with Eddie, Liya, and Nani.
And this is Halloween.
This is Halloween.
This is Halloween.
So before we kick it off, we'll just throw it over to Liya to do some quick announcements. Community announcements? Announcements. Let's go.
Community
Take it away,
announcements.
Liya.
Jumbo. Hey, first of all, I've got a few things that are happening in the community currently, so I'm just gonna reel them off right now. We've got the IRRS campaign meetings. Now, the reason that I'm gonna keep announcing it on here is because quite a lot of our community live in council housing, and the reason we're having these campaign meetings is to get the income-related rent subsidy access, just like Kainga Ora. Currently, council tenants pay 70% of the market rate, as opposed to 25% of their income and rent, and it's quickly becoming unaffordable to live in affordable housing. So we're meeting on Thursdays at 6 p.m, and the place that we meet is the Thomas Centre, and it's right next to Macca's in Newtown, and the campaign is moving fast ahead. We need more people from council tenancies, like Berkeley Dowler, Newtown Park Flats, Daniel Street, Mount Cook area. We want council tenants from over the east side, Strathmore, Miramar, and we want council tenants from as far up as Tawa. So we would like yous to come and get involved. Listen to that, like yous. Doesn't I sound like, oh Jesus, I sound like a real Kiwi when I say that.
Yeah.
We would like you all to...
No, we'd like yous all to come down.
We'd like yous all to come down and be a part of this, because it is being driven from the ground up. We've got the attention of the MPs. We've got the attention of Megan Woods. The IRRS is what we want, and that's all we want is the IRRS. We've had the mayor, the Wellington City Councillors on board, so come on, this time we might get this over the line, and we actually need all of you to take part. Leaders in the African community, please encourage your people to get in behind us, okay? Because they're going to benefit from it. They're going to have more affordable rent, and their families are going to be better off. Okay, next on is Africa Week. Now, Africa Week starts next week. It's going from the 1st to the 5th of, what month are we? November.
Yeah.
And go online, check out their page. We have put the links up on Blackhouse, of our Facebook page. And yeah, the Blackhouse has had a bit of a contribution in that, so Secret Squirrel, look out for it. And go and enjoy it. It looks like it's going to be really good. It's an online celebration at the moment, and I think down the line, we might even make it real.
If it comes around again next year, we do a trip up, or they can come down to us.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be awesome. So also, another change, the African Film Festival Australasia Online, right? That's going to be running from the 10th of December 2021 to the 7th of January 2022. Christmas and New Year holidays with African films in your own bubbles. The Blackhouse had the privilege of doing a really cool interview with the African Film Festival, so look out for that on our YouTube page, and we'll be sharing it on our Facebook.
So that's coming up, is it today, tomorrow? Today.
It'll be coming out today. So
extras here. You can finish up the show and go watch that. It's a great interview.
Yeah.
We sorted out all our technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Because that was a mission.
Yeah, it was a mission. Yeah. So finally. Auntie called.
Last but not least.
Auntie called. And Auntie, when I say Auntie, everybody knows I mean Auntie Wanjiku Kiari. She's in the head of an organisation called Africa Connection Aotearoa, and she's looking for more people to join her organisation and get involved with her organisation. Auntie Wanjiku is an actor, an activist, a playwright, a dramaturg. She does everything, and a poet. And Africa Connection is about bringing creatives together and expressing themselves and having that space to do that and getting supported from somebody who's got teeth in the game. She's was married to Martin Saunderson, who was the writer of Shortland Street, and
What?
yeah, and so she's got teeth in the game, and she's really good at what she does, and you know, she wants to get young people in behind the organisation, and you know, new blood, fresh meat.
Speaking of that's easy. So speaking of teeth and new blood to true blood. Nani is dressed as a vampire.
I am.
Halloween
You noticed.
is here.
Halloween.
Halloween is here.
This is in fact Halloween. Yes, no, I'm sorry. I am proud of myself because I took the bus in. I took a train and I took a bus with my fangs.
Looking like a Dracula.
Yep, that's the right.
Dracula.
I'm so glad you guys have the taste not to make a Blackula joke. I don't.
honestly, so obviously Nani and I have like over the on the level shows have brought up Halloween and vampire movies
Yes.
and zombie movies and werewolf movies.
Thank you, Eddie Murphy.
And yeah, and that's the thing. Like, so a couple of days ago I was like trying to work out like what streaming service has the black media that I want to watch.
Yeah.
So
right?
it's like so there's the show that I want to watch called Small Axe.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to work out what streaming service had it, and Amazon had it.
Right.
And there was like Amazon's Black Voices, and it scrolled down, and Vampire in Brooklyn Vampire in Brooklyn was one of the first like movies to come up.
Oh, that movie changed me.
So Vampire in Brooklyn is the Eddie Murphy vampire movie. Check it out,
Was
please.
it Chris Rock or Chris Tucker who played his ghoul?
I think it's Chris Tucker.
Yeah, right. Like it's Chris Tucker who plays his ghoul, and I can't. Who was it? Who is the lead female as well?
Viola
Davis.
Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett.
That's
I was like,
Yeah,
it's
she's
Angela
got the
Bassett.
face for that.
Oh my God, doesn't
They're
she?
just those cheekbones.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really very interesting. There's a movie. It's called like Jump in the Broom, and they have Viola Davis in it as like so it's essentially like the African American family and a Haitian family.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those kind of typical like family drama like beef movies.
Yeah.
And it's great because Viola Davis plays the mother of the bride who's Haitian and like speaks in full Haitian Creole and it's fantastic. It's so good.
Oh, there we go.
So
well, Angela Bassett, not Viola Davis. So.
I've got a question for you guys. I want to know, what do you know about Halloween like celebrations or festivals in black communities globally?
Well,
You know, so this is everywhere in the diaspora that black people live. What do you know about that?
well, I come from America, and I've noticed that they don't celebrate Halloween here altogether. Like, very much that topsy-turvy Halloween, that fall shifting holiday, that's just not here, white or black. But in the States, are you joking me? They got pumpkins on their ceilings. Like, it is the other Christmas. And, you know, not to put too fine a point on it, but that shenanigans are Nestle sponsored as heck. It is a candy-based holiday where all of the candy companies are pumping money into making sure that they are being seen. People do exactly the same thing they do on Christmas, where they cover their house in every kind of something. And it also plays into, in America, a long history of Sleepy Hollow style, right?
Like hauntings.
Yeah, of
Right.
hauntings, which is like it's not just like the topsy-turvy ghosts and vampires. It actually plays into the shift from summer to fall to winter, which is like the shift into the veil of the spirit realm is thinner.
What about
Beltane,
Jamaica?
Samhain.
Jamaica, I actually don't know. I think Jamaica consumes a lot of American media.
Yeah.
So I think part of it will be that. My guess will be is that I think in a lot of places, and I guess it comes down to if you have things that have really strong, more direct African roots. So obviously the US of the difference. So if you look at the large amount of black populations, there are people who've, like, you know, America was the first colony to potentially raise its slaves in. The slave population was from America and born within America, whereas versus wherever else was kind of importing slaves. Like Brazil kept importing slaves. Jamaica kept importing slaves. Haiti started importing slaves.
So they never got that second generation, third generation.
Well, you did over time, but it wasn't. You always had very strong ties to Africa.
Yeah.
And my theory is that it's almost a thing of like, maybe because of those ties to Africa, it's that kind of point where the dead or the spirit, it's like spirits and all sorts of things are kind of always present. It's not like this specific, like, I think Halloween in the kind of European kind of model is almost this kind of point, the point where suddenly witches and ghouls and ghosts and all that thing can cross over.
Yeah.
And the fae folk can cross over.
Yeah.
But in African side of things, you know, the dead are kind of present, they're part of life anyway.
Yeah,
Look at voodoo. Like the spirit's law, all those things are just present anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not necessarily as strong a tradition because the expectation is the dead are just kind of around.
Like the concept that the dead, you're like, are you joking me? Grandma's right here, grandpa's right here.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? They're always with me, and they're present in the wisdoms that I carry and in the culture that I carry. You don't just you do not let your dead just rest within that culture. And I think that there is a lot to be said for that, like shift in Eurocentric culture. I wonder if it has to do with the shifting equatorial Africa, we not getting winters like they're getting. So like that shift in the seasons might actually have an impact on it. Does it? I don't know. Could it? It could.
Leia, what do you know? I feel like
Leia,
you're like holding on to some knowledge here.
Right? America, Jamaica, New Zealand speak.
Yeah, well, in New Zealand, it's been I see Halloween as a Christian or a Celtic sort of thing, because that's how it's been shared down here, if you know what I mean. You know, it comes from that sort of background. But when it comes to the spirit realm and maybe not on Halloween, right? They do in Africa. I don't think it would be a celebrated holiday, even though it's becoming. Like I've been reading in articles that from a touristy point of view and from an influence of the West on Africa, young people have started sort of going, oh yeah, it's Halloween because they've seen these things on movies.
Yeah.
But from a traditional, no, because they've got this absolute phobia about witches. Yeah. Yeah. When I was in Zimbabwe, it was crazy. Like I was reading the newspaper and I was reading witch reports the same way that you would read motorcycle accidents and burglaries, and I'm like, what is this? I've never, because the whole thing about witchcraft is that even though it's a very Christian country, and they've got their own sort of like, they have their own tradition, religions as well, like everywhere else, but it's been deemed and pushed into that anything that's not Christian or Muslim is witchcraft, which is quite, I don't know if I sort of 100% agree with that from my own personal perspective. I know in Tanzania, for example, while I was there was this thing called a popo bawa. Right?
Oh, I've heard of popo bawa.
Okay, and they had an outbreak of popo bawa reports while I was there, and I was like,
so when was that? That would have been
95.
Somebody's got to educate me. I'm ignorant.
Okay, so the popo bawa is like a bat-like spirit, demon sort of thing that can fly across the water, and and what it does is it attacks people in their sleep, and you know that it's been there because it's left a little bit of a reminder that it's been there. And while I was hearing about this, I sort of said to my sister, so if somebody was being attacked by a family member, or incestuous sort of situation with a younger person in the family, do you think if it was you, for example, would you say it was a pawpaw bawa, or would you name the person? And she just looked me dead in the eyes and she said pawpaw bawa.
Wow, holy crap.
So I don't know what this thing is, but I know that it could that it could be used in a way to cover up things, taboo issues, taboo sexual relations in a family and things like that.
It's interesting because 1995, in terms of monster outbreaks, obviously, like you said, that what we describe is probably quite a reasonable explanation for that sort of things. But there was one I remember that's like with the chupacabra in Mexico, and it actually wasn't even started in Mexico. It started the chupacabra myth started in Puerto Rico,
Really?
and and then, but it was that same thing. Suddenly in around 1994, 1995,
The chupacabra
chupacabra report,
everywhere.
chupacabra mania hit.
Yeah.
Where suddenly you started finding these corpses of goats and chickens, reindeer blood or whatever,
Yeah.
and then suddenly it spread like wildfire. Suddenly chupacabras were being reported in, like, even as far north as like New York. You get it's this thing. Suddenly it was this mania of suddenly chupacabra sightings.
Yeah.
And it's interesting seeing how, what about that time? It always feels like it lines up. What about that time?
Yeah.
Suddenly fostered itself to these spreads of this wildfire of like it's almost like that. They said like an outbreak.
Yeah.
An outbreak of popobao attacks, like an outbreak of chupacabra sightings.
Well, I think that within our community there's a lot of like, and I know why, because you know you don't go to the police. You do not go to the police. And within family council, it's a hierarchy, and if you're not on the top of the hierarchy, you do not speak up. And I think that that's actually a big part of these topsy-turvy inversion holidays, is it sort of gives space and room for that.
For the people that can't speak up to speak up or be visible.
To start showing the part of themselves that has been warped or wounded.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a lot of health in that, especially if you look into modern psychology. I think one of the things that you bump into, however, is that in our community, we're still processing we're trying to lean into processing this through like therapy, talk therapy, and like, you know, more clean clinical methods right now. But I actually think there's a lot to be said for like, look, this holiday, these topsy-turvy holidays, they go back a very long time. Yeah. They have a long record of helping to start move that energy. For my part, having a daughter who is terrified of literally everything, she's been weaned into the fact that this world is a terrifying place. There's like, I'm like, sweetheart, this is just Halloween scary. The world is a terrifying place. But we're gonna wean you onto that fact with fake skeletons that smile at you, like, you know. And I think that gentle weaning into the reality of the situation and the weight of the world is such a. I think that our culture could use more of that, that preparation, right? Like where we can say to our kids, "Here is a pumpkin with a scary face," and they'll go, "Ah," and you're like, "But it's not really scary." And they're like, "Oh," I'm like, "But the world is really this kind of scary."
See, I have a different take on Halloween and being Halloween here, and I think obviously people like I've watched a lot of people put up things about we need to celebrate Halloween, we need to do stuff for Halloween. And people have gone, "Oh, actually, no, it's American, it's commercialized."
But it's not American at all.
But then the thing I think is that in the US, I'm not saying it's a lost cause, but I'm saying Halloween has been shifted to be this thing for children. But if you look at roots, it's much more like either a community and much more an adult thing. And that's what I almost think is actually probably a thing when people say, "Oh, Halloween, it's just for people to put on costumes that look sexy and get drunk." I'm just like, no, actually, that
we
there
do
is
that anyway.
there is no. I think there's value in building Halloween here as a kind of point of adult release. It's that space where we can dress up silly. We can dress up we can, you know, and it's an adult space as opposed and.
Well, I pulled this up from the New African magazine, and you know, this was written by, you know, this is a magazine written by Africans for Africans. So they said this quote: "Some are quite opposed to Halloween, the Western version, being celebrated in countries that have fears of witchcraft practice, and see any necromancy or afterlife veneration as witchcraft, even though Halloween in its original sense wasn't a witchcraft festival at all, but a veneration of saints and martyrs," which is something, which ironically is something that's celebrated in Christendom, and Christendom is spread all over Africa. You know.
But I think the plus of the thing on top of that though is that where the real root, or is that where it's like when you've had Christians come and overtake pagan, like especially Celtic pagan belief, is that how you can do? You can shift it to be like, okay, it's less about celebrating the spirits, or it's about these certain group of gods, and what you do is you shift that to be like, oh, it's about saints and martyrs and lots of things, and you at least you allow the practice, but you change the veneer to keep it within your circle of control.
I think that there's a lot to be said for the Pan-African relationship to the concept of monoculture as well. On one hand, like listening to you both, on one hand you have this thing of, oh, the monoculture is trying to push Halloween on us. And then there's another one who's like, monoculture is trying to take Halloween from us.
Yeah.
Like, Christian monoculture is trying to force us to have Halloween, even though we're Christian. Wait, what?
It just doesn't, it's sort of ironic, really, in a way.
Yeah.
Right. Just so on that point, should we jump to some music?
We should jump
absolutely.
to some music.
Okay, so we're gonna make a bit of a mix. So we got first up we have Naked by Tando, and this is her new album, I believe, new release stuff. So that's really cool. I'm really excited to hear that.
I left you to do all the research on the music this week.
You
tell me.
When I picked the songs and tagged the artists afterwards, I'm going like this. So like, and we are back on the Blackhouse. Oh, my mic's missing out. Here we go. We are back. You guys can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's just my own headphones.
I love that track by Gino.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like I think it's his voice. It's really young.
I can't work out if we've played that track before in the last couple of weeks, but at the end of the day, I don't really care.
No, there's such a bouncy tune, and it's something about his voice.
Smooth, an optimal mix of a smooth voice and a good BPM, and I'm just like, I'm here. Hello.
Sweet, so we're back on the Blackhouse's Halloween episode. One moment, I'm just queuing to say it. We're back on the Blackhouse's Halloween episode.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just it was one of those points I had to put up on YouTube and I couldn't quite. I was like, is there going to be an ad? I got to vamp long enough to get it to that point. So they're Blackhouse on Halloween.
I just want to say something before you guys jump in.
Jump in.
Yeah.
Jump in.
You know, like we keep saying it's a Christian holiday.
Yeah.
But the history of it says something quite different. It was the Vigil of Samhain, which traces back nearly
Samhain.
2,000 years.
Well, there was Samhain and Beltane, which were the seasonal corners.
Right.
And it's not that when we say it's Christian, what we mean is American Christian, which is the Coca-Cola version of Christian.
Well,
yeah.
It's also like how every Christian holiday, like Christmas, like Easter, like all those kind of festivals are based on older ones, right?
Yeah.
Like Easter is based off of our star.
Yes.
Like that sort of thing. Like, I actually had a theory. I worked it out. The reason why Valentine's Day is like a pre-Easter, pre-May Day one.
Right.
Where essentially Valentine's Day is when everyone gets busy, and then by the time May Day or Easter roll around, that's when first people start working. Like that's when people will work out that they're pregnant. Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh my God, you probably nailed it.
The eggs.
The
eggs. Now I get the eggs.
I had that thought. I was sitting there. I was like, Valentine's Day is within a month, within obviously a month of Easter, but then within 2-3 months of what would be May.
I've just mind blowing. I've just figured out rabbits and eggs. I'm just like, wow, it's all about pregnancy.
Wow,
yeah.
that actually explains a lot.
And rabbits breed like. And you need eggs.
Yeah.
Put the two together, and you've got Easter.
Huevos rancheros.
Yeah.
Huevos conejos, my friend.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I was like, and again, you say Valentine's Day, Saint Valentine.
Yeah.
So you manage to tie it in, so you kind of go, okay, well, that's when everybody's kind of getting it on, and now it's rolled round suddenly. Oh. It's you type that, and then you can people don't have to change. That just kind of the practice doesn't change.
Yeah.
But just the name and the kind of the denomination changes, right?
Oh, that is okay.
So back to Halloween.
Back to Halloween. Well, personally, my favorite holiday.
I was gonna say, like, actually, that's not too far off. Because here's the thing. Here's something that I feel like. Let's wrap this back into New Zealand. Things that I feel. Things that I feel. I mean, so my yard right now is full of the spring flowers, right? I'm not feeling like I'm dressed like a vampire, but like last week I was in pink and blue because I was like spring, right? And I want to make like spring themed macaroons and stuff because that right now seasonally. This is not the vibe for vampires and witches. I want to be like that, like on the other side of the year.
When it's dark,
right?
and the sun goes down really early.
Exactly.
And it's wet and
I actually
muddy.
feel like there's something to be said for, I feel like this time of year, whilst I'm absolutely going to celebrate Halloween, you can't stop me. I feel like there needs to be something to, like, as much as I said last time, we need a holiday on the other side to represent Halloween. I feel like New Zealand needs a May Day right now, like something that's equivalent to it, like an Easter or a May Day, some sort of welcoming spring-specific holiday for the Southern Hemisphere. Yes, thank you very much. I want to have this quarterly festive feeling that I have, that I associate with Halloween, but I want it to line up with, you know, the seasons around me.
I think the seasonal thing for Halloween actually kind of works into the commercialism of Halloween for children.
Yeah.
Because you've got that longer period of time after work that you can take the kids around and yada yada
That's
yada.
true,
So that works really nicely. But I do like the idea of like the really scary Halloweens and you know.
Well, speaking of really scary, so my flat is opposite an abandoned apartment block on the terrace. So my entire flat was sitting in the living room, so we can see our kind of kitchen
the
living room.
ghosts of
kitchen.
landlords that haven't been paid.
Like coming out, opening,
Give me the rent.
opening out,
Give me
like
the rent.
coming out, clawing out the darkness. Like, that's for us.
You owe me $1,500.
But the rent, the ghost of rent yet to be paid.
And the tenants receive their bond back. No, so like my entire, my flatmates and I were sitting all in my kitchen on, I must have been Thursday night. Wednesday night, and we were all looking, and then through the street, kind of 10:30 at night, and then suddenly in like the window of like one of like this abandoned building, you start seeing this red light. Flash. And we're just, someone's like, does anyone see that red light up there? And I'm just like, okay, we're all gonna die. Great. And I like messaged my girlfriend, and I was just like, hey, it's been great. Like, just on the off chance that I get brutally murdered by like a hook-handed man. Like, you were fantastic.
Like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I would say Candyman a couple times in the mirror just to see that man in person.
Tony Todd.
Oh, I'm just saying. A couple times in the mirror, be like, Candyman, where he at? Though?
And then you just say Instagram.
Right? My last photo is just me making like duck faces.
as you see like the hook and the bees coming.
And then he gives you a big smile too.
But it's weird though, because Candyman, like the original story of Candyman was, you've seen the Candyman movie, right?
Oh yeah.
So the original story of Candyman was that it was set in Liverpool. It was a working class.
Really?
So it was a British working class story.
Oh.
So it was set in a British working class community, and there was that. And then when they did the movie, they were like, okay, let's adapt this to like crack era Detroit.
Yeah.
Like housing projects Detroit, and it's one of those things that translates really well. And it's one of those things where someone says like, I think in this time where we're now getting like we get more you get like in this era of remakes.
Yeah.
We almost need that thing to think about is, okay, cool, what made the original movies really relevant? Like what do they really hit? Like, so Candyman like is about like gentrification and and that's the new Candyman is specifically about gentrification.
Yeah.
It's almost this whole thing of someone who grew up when this was in this era when it was a project returning when all the hipstery white people have moved in.
A little bit like Newtown.
And but it's the thing is how can you embed horror movies that if you're doing horror movie and you're gonna remake them?
So what
how
was
do you
the-
how do you update them? Like, what's the way you update them?
I can
for-
kind of imagine the Halloween movie, but this time it's black people. I can imagine that.
I'm curious about what was the original story in Liverpool, because you know the story in America was about a slave that had a relationship with a white woman,
Yeah.
and then he got lynched and covered in tar and
bees.
what is it, honey covered in something,
Yeah.
treacle maybe, I don't know,
Yeah.
and then the bees came, and that's why the bees are always a part of it. But what was the story in Liverpool?
I don't know the specific story of Liverpool, but that's the thing I read up about it and was saying like what it was I guess or more I guess in the same way that it's based around like the kind of revenge of I guess a former slave of similar revenge of like someone who's been the victim of brutal racial discriminate like prejudice. I suppose it's probably a working class revenge story, I suppose.
Yeah.
The one I haven't actually read it. Like it's one of the things I found read an article about it and was saying like it's interesting that one of my mates is really into horror films and he would say no, it was originally working class Liverpool and they translated it to working class Detroit. Like
Yeah, I was thinking, like if I was to just circle back around to the Africa and the Black diaspora and Halloween and spirits, I was thinking that the thing about witchcraft in Africa is that it's so revolt, like they just repel it, like they don't want it around them, and like a lot of the stuff to do with Halloween in the West is not so much about the Samhain Beltane, it's all about spirits and it's all about demons and all these different ghouls and goblins, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, like you say, it's about that. I think that there's actually gotta be some divisions here, because I think you've got the West, and then you've got New Zealand, and then you've got America, and then you've got England, and I'm like, actually, even you wouldn't get two people in England to agree from West to East, Manchester.
Yeah, oh geez, you wouldn't even get them understanding one another. They can all be speaking the same language.
Yeah. But my point is that so I kind of almost want to say there obviously there's levels to Halloween, and we kind of say Halloween, but we don't all agree.
Yeah,
I
what
think
it is.
Right? It's like the spirit of Christmas. Is it Jesus or is it presents? And I think that there's a sort of the spirit of Halloween. Is it ghosts and ghouls, witchcraft, or candy? Because actually candy's delicious, and taking my kids out to knock on my neighbor's door is actually a really good social activity. I have a daughter. I take her out to go knock on other people's door. They come out, they smile at her, and they give her candy. And I'm like, this is 90% of your life moving forward, sweetheart. This is a good practice.
I definitely don't think that celebrating Halloween, whichever way you want to celebrate it, if you want to celebrate it at all, revokes your black card in any way, shape, or form.
No, not even a little bit. But I do think that I was even listening to you speak. I wonder if you sort of also feel a little bit of that's because when black people do witchcraft, we mean it, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean, right?
Absolutely.
We don't do it because we don't do it because we're I ain't gonna touch it because I don't I think it might work.
I remember I don't do a lot of Halloween parties. The two that I have done, one was one I went to as a particular comic book character.
Yeah.
And the other I went as Baron Samedi.
Right.
So that was the thing for me. I was like, well, do you know what? Fuck it. This is the one point where I can dress up like a voodoo baron.
Yeah.
And no one's gonna question that.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. It was almost this point where I had this opportunity to I can use what for everybody else is a chance to get drunk in a costume. I can use this as a way of as a connection point to something I'm trying to understand.
Yeah. No, I do. I wonder, because here I am in New Zealand, and I don't actually feel I feel more connected to the land now than I did when I first got here. But when I first got here, I felt the no access to what you would call the mana of the land. I just didn't feel like I was a part of it. And I feel that they're we might be flippantly being witches. But imagine you actually have experienced, and I have experienced some crazy things, right? I ain't gonna write nothing off because I've seen some crazy things.
Yeah.
And I imagine if you had like an actual vindictive African like you know mistress with your name on a doll, you would definitely be like, all right, I'm done. Who sick somebody else?
That's interesting because you know what it reminds me of? That reminds me of like it's one of the probably more sexist part of Eddie Murphy's comedy.
Yeah.
It's the bit where he's like the whole you gotta go and find yourself like an African wife and
Yeah.
and then
yeah.
and that's it. But that's almost that kind of idea. That's like almost you sit there and go that it's almost just weird, not weird, but it's almost that not culture clash, but it's that black people from the diaspora connecting to black people from the Africa.
Yeah.
And trying to work out what that space is.
Working out what it is.
Well, I mean, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, imagine here, that's just not a relevant factor.
Well, like, is it? Because, I mean, a lot of people bring that in the well, I'm going to out some people. No, I'm not.
I was literally just sitting here being like, now don't tell the story of that one girl. I'm like, girl, you in my past. If I got one spell up, it's this.
Yeah.
What I am rubber, you are glue. Whatever witchcraft you send at me, that let it bounce.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite a common practice. It's quite a common practice in some African cultures to actually repel the evil eye.
Yes.
And and you know, like use go back home to get stuff.
Yeah.
And then come back. You know, like very common when I was in Australia.
Yeah.
Like people traveling back home to get the job fixed and then come back. You know, so it's not like it's real. You know, like the thing is that witchcraft and that sort of thing is, even though we do live in a Christian, you know, even though a lot of them will say we're Christian, it's very real to some other people when they're not getting what they want. And it's a way to, I sort of look at it as a way that people can get power when they feel powerless.
Well, I wonder if that's actually a huge part of it. Like, I love listening to you say that because that's actually been, I think that's the dichotomy of Halloween. If you believe in witches, you want no part of this.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is the people who are happy, like me, to dress up as a vampire, it's because I don't believe in them. Like on some deep, like, I believe in the essence and the psychology of being vampiric as a human with power. I believe in that.
There are some vampires out there, and then they don't drink blood; they drink emotions.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
like money, right? And like time.
And that one time, me and my girlfriends got that voodoo shit, and the voodoo shit worked. Like, okay.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So, like, that's what I mean. Like, I actually think that the ironic thing is to, like, people like me, where I don't actually, I am not going to walk down the street worrying about my neck. I'm just not going to do it. But that's almost like a flippant disregard for a culture of people who are like, nah, I've seen it.
Yeah, because some of the, like, they've even got markets in like South Africa where you can go and buy the ingredients you need to do your stuff. So it's a real living thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they've got this is probably why there's this pervasiveness of the Pentecostal kind of drive out the demons kind of churches and stuff there, because the reality of it is also real. It's tangible. You can touch it and all that sort of stuff.
I mean, like, let me bring this right back around, because like because it's October, of course I started rereading Carpe Jugulum by Terry Pratchett.
It's October, like, you know.
But of course I'm rereading Terry Pratchett's Carpe Jugulum. I think every New Zealander can agree that Terry Pratchett is a fantastic man, and Carpe Jugulum is a good book. If you've read him.
I have read Terry Pratchett.
Yes, right. And
I never have time to read these days.
Make your time up.
Make your time up.
You and that accent, maybe we gotta talk about that. It comes in and out.
Nah, girl, you get that southern, you got code switch. It's what it is, all right? I'm just saying, you know, I spend time. Anyway. So here I am rereading Carpe Jugulum by Terry Pratchett, and I actually think that Granny Weatherwax, and I will praise her to the day is done, is a really good example of the balance of witchcraft and psychology, where it all boils down to the fact that no, psychology is real. It has tangible impact on people. telling people that I have a potion made of sucrose and aqua, like sugar water. Right? Like, and you have to take this potion all the way up to the mountain to heal your ailment and drink it there. Actually, you're just telling them to get a 20-minute walk, right? And like, but acknowledging that aspect of people, that actually that psychology and the psychological impact is real. Talking with fangs is hard. But it's I actually went and sung at Valhalla with my fangs in at one point, and that was very difficult. But my point is that the psychology of it is real.
Yeah.
Being able to actually address people who do not have like large scientific jargon, or even talking to a more basal part of the human brain. That's a meaningful distinction. And I think that being able to impact, I do really think being able to impact and talk to people on that level, it's very akin to magic.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm like doing some things but I'm not using my words and I'm influencing you, that's witchcraft.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be any weirder than that.
There's an actual saying that I've heard one of my friends from Somalia say quite a lot, and that the tongue is witchcraft.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Like, in fact, to the point where, like, there is a lot of different translations where a spell, or to speak, or to incant, to enchant is to incant, and to incant is to speak.
Yeah.
Right, so we've got 4 minutes left. I can do one more song, and then I'm just going to close out as well.
Okay.
Oh.
Alright.
Sweet, so next up we have the new track from Jess B, From the Jump.
Oh.
So I saw you comment on it with the giant. You shared the photo of the music video with the giant brain. Alright, so this is From the Jump by Jess B. And welcome back to the Blackhouse 106.1 FM. We're in our last 2 minutes. So just to close off, what are we doing after today's show, guys?
Oh, right, we're going to Three Little Birds.
Right, so we're going to Three Little Birds.
Steph.
It's a Jamaican restaurant, Jamaican food joint, has finally opened. I don't want to say it's the first in New Zealand, but it's like one of two, maybe.
And you know my mates kept saying we're taking over that place.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
look,
right.
okay.
Yeah.
What we need to do is like with Mother Coffee and Three Little Birds, we need to make those like the black hangout spots.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Because but that's the thing. I think like we can all come together over food. Like it's the best way to come together.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things. Just
We got to get Joel from Mother Africa to come up and talk about how he set up his thing, and the people from Three Little Birds too.
well, I'm feeding. I'm like I almost want to get food so I can take it home and just have it. I'm so hyped. I'm gonna get some jerk chicken. I'm gonna get some curry goat. I need some saltfish. I'm just like, I'm gonna have everything.
I've got to have some of the things that I've never heard of before. I'm just like one of those people that needs to eat stuff I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well then
I would be a complete sucker for Hannibal Lecter. With brains.
Yeah.
You just want to try things you've never tried
It
before.
sounds so bad. I ate his liver with some fava beans and
So-
nice Chianti.
Yeah.
It's the way he pronounces Chianti. It comes out like Chianti. But like, I have this thing that at some point we're going to be able to clone people, and then we can have celebrity burgers, and that's the future.
Okay. So
Okay. That's a
our
whole other show.
so we're gonna close on Nani's admission of cannibalism.
Hey, look, I
And
want a Benedict.
we have
I want a Benedict
10
burger.
seconds. Okay. Well, this has been the Black House. We'll see you all next week.
Ciao.
Peace.
Bye, Eddie.